Hi, and welcome, everybody. Welcome back to This is the Thread. Thank you for your patience. The last few episodes have been more on the entertainment side, and this episode, we're going to get back to the series that we've been doing looking at cell phones and their health effects. So I know it's been a while. I want to catch you up on kind of what we've been through, and it hasn't been a whole lot. Hasn't been a whole lot, but as my dad says, how do you eat an elephant? You eat it one bite at a time. So we're taking baby steps here, and that's okay because this is a marathon. It's not a sprint, and we're not going to get through all the information that there is out there on this subject. So just a little recap because it has been a while. First episode in this series, I took a look at the instruction manual of the phone, of which I have a Samsung Galaxy, and we took a look at it. We saw that they do have the health warning on there, basically saying that, hey, we have these two bodies, these two research bodies. They did their own studies on it, and they found no significant health effects. They did state to keep it away from children. They did state appropriate distance to keep it away from your body, and they kind of started this whole conversation. Next, we look at a study done on rats that looked at cell phones' effect on the stress hormone response of the rats. And they found that there was increases in cortisol and increases in ACTH, adrenocortico hormone, See, it's been a while since we've talked about it. I forgot now. Next, we are taking a look at a long review of many studies. This one is Ashok Agarwal et al. American study out of the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio. And the first thing we took a look at was the effects, what types of effects there are. And it talks about there's thermal effects and non-thermal effects. Thermal effects have to do with literally the fact that the phone, if you have it on you, could heat that part of your body, and damage to in the study, I'm sorry, was about cell phones and male infertility, and they were saying, you keep your phone in your pocket, and it's hot. It has the potential to heat that area that is near your pocket, so your thigh, in men, your groin region, that pelvic region, and it has an effect on your sperm, your fertility, your sexual health, and it does that because your body is unable to properly dissipate the heat that is from the cell phone. So there's a thermal effect. There's also a non-thermal effect, which has to do with the actual waves and the radiation given off and its effect on at the cellular level and the DNA level. Other things, endothelial dysfunctions, alterations in the blood-brain barrier, cellular signal transduction effects, immune system effects, nervous system effects. So everything not to do with heating up, increasing like temperature of a body area, but literally affecting like the building blocks of cells and bodily functions, basically. Or not bodily function, but DNAs, reactive oxygen species, oxidative stress, things like that. After that, we got into how cell phones exactly affect male infertility, and there's a couple ways. One way was they alter semen quality, and we did talk about a few studies here on the morphological changes in semen. The fact that there were studies out there that showed that that cell phones reduce the amount of forward progressive motile sperm in males. So I mentioned this. That kind of makes sense. You want sperm to be progressive, moving forward, and have tails that swim, in the right direction. You want the car to be going forward to get to your destination, right? Other changes as far as it decreased motility and observational. Sorry, it's been a while, so I gotta read through this. So morphology. And then also sperm count was talked about a little bit, and they did show that there have been studies out there that have shown a decrease in sperm count from exposure to cell phones. Next, talked about histological changes in male reproductive organs in human and animal studies, reduction in testicular size, changes to the testes as a result of exposure to cell phone or the EMW radiation. See, look at me. I'm just reading all this. Next, we are going to talk about alteration of sperm cell membrane potential and signal transduction. This is the topic of today. So, I'm just going to be reading a little bit from here. EMW can generate alternating current across negatively charged cell membranes when our bodies act as antennas that absorb the EMW radiation converted into alternating ED currents. The big things here are going to be calcium and magnesium, so positive ions here. They're going to be attracted to the negatives, a negative charged cell membrane, and the cell phone has the potential to affect us, or the electromagnetic radiation is going to affect us in a very negative way. So they need those positive ions to basically hold the membrane together, is how I interpreted this. And they do have a nice picture here that kind of sums up like all the pathways of how a cellular device can negatively affect the membrane. I'm going to continue reading here. Pulsed radio waves from mobile phones generate shaking currents that drive calcium ions on and off the membranes. When this happens, it's not to your advantage, basically, that this happens, that there's this calcium efflux from the membrane. Because as it states in the study here, in this review, the depleted calcium is replaced by potassium, which renders the cell membranes weak and leaky because potassium has limited ability to stabilize the membrane. So not good. And what they're getting at here is, okay, it can basically, from what I'm reading about this, it breaks down, it makes that wall, the cell membrane, I guess the cell wall different than a cell membrane. It makes it weaker. Calcium efflux from the cell in response to ED currents across the plasma membrane leads to impaired sperm motility. So this is what I'm talking about. Your sperm are cells, right? So you have calcium efflux from the membrane. Membrane gets weaker, and as a result, sperm motility is impaired, right? EMW is affecting the cell membrane. It's affecting the motility of the sperm, like what we talked about before. Furthermore, the altered calcium homeostasis has dramatic consequences on other metabolic pathways in the cell. And we're going to get into this. Some of the enzymes that are affected, and I'm going to make sure that I have this picture for you guys up on the video. Sorry to the SoundCloud users. Go to YouTube. And normally when I post on YouTube, it's usually just my face you see there. I'm not going to have that. I'm going to have this picture, this nice diagram of all these pathways that are affected here. Calcium was one of the intracellular secondary messenger molecules. Protein kinase is one of these pathways. Excuse me. PKC is a family of enzymes that are involved in controlling the function of other protein pumps and channels through the phosphorylation of hydroxyl groups of serine and threonine amino acid residues in these proteins. So PKC enzymes in turn are activated by signals such as increases in the concentration of diacylglycerol or calcium. Hence, PKC enzymes play an important role in several signal transduction cascades, such as mediating cellular response to extracellular stimuli involved in proliferation, differentiation, apoptosis, and exocytotic release in a number of neuronal, non-neuronal, and sperm cells. So calcium plays a role in PKC. PKC plays a role in your sperm. And if your sperm is viable, therefore a decrease in PKC activity induced by cell phone usage may lead to a decline in flagellar activity, thereby negatively affecting sperm motility. And I think in the chart, this figure 5, they do talk about this. Yes, calcium channels, calcium efflux from the membrane leads to it affecting protein kinase C, decrease in sperm motility, a decrease in the activity of enzymes, pumps, ion channels, and an increase in apoptosis, programmed cell death, which is going to negatively affect your sperm. Think about that. Programmed cell death of your sperm. Not that great. And not that great when it's killing off viable sperm, right? You probably don't want that. And then it shows a bunch of other pathways here: P38, MAD, MAP, KAP kinase, HSP, and all these are going to affect your sexual health in different ways. It's going to increase the blood-testes barrier, leading to infertility. It has the potential to decrease your sperm count, decrease metabolisms of sperm, decrease motility. That's kind of what we talked about earlier. So PKC, very, very important pathway in reproduction, right? Here's a study that they cite. Kasari et al. Found a decrease in the levels of PKC activity in adult male Worcester rats, 70 days old, 200 grams of body weight when they were exposed to electromagnetic wave radiation. Cell phone radiation related increase in reactive oxygen species and or calcium efflux leads to a decrease in the activity of PKC, which in turn is going to affect, like I said, the sperm motility. It's going to affect the activity of some important enzymes for you. It's going to potentially increase apoptosis as well. So calcium efflux is one way it's going to affect the cellular membrane. Another is by increasing the activity of NADH oxidase enzyme. And this is, as according to this review, is going to increase reactive oxygen species formation. Chronic exposure leads to excess reactive oxygen species, which is going to lead to an activation of heat shock proteins. As a result, the heat shock proteins are going to try to combine with vital enzymes, and they're going to try to form a protective layer in combination with some vital enzymes to shield them from damage. But this is going to cause HSP to stop working properly. HSP stops working properly, it's going to cause a whole host of some issues. It is a HSP, and if you look at the figure, HSP is going to lead to potentially apoptosis, potentially abnormal motility and morphology, potential infertility is what it is basically saying here. So this next piece, alteration in sperm proliferation, proliferative activity, and apoptosis. Sperm antigen. Sorry, I'm just reading here. You know what? We might save this part. We might save this part. We've been going on 16 minutes here. I think that's good for today. This next part is going to deal with the apoptosis, so the programmed cell death, and which again you don't want. I mean, in some cases, I think cell death is good, clearing out like bad cells, but in this case, if you have viable sperm, you just don't want apoptosis happening and programmed cell death of good quality sperm, right? So we're going to save this for next time. Thank you for being patient with me, guys. I'm going to try to get this posted as soon as possible. Interesting information. I know it's kind of choppy. Thank you for being patient. If you guys wanted to hear more about this, I definitely want to learn more about this. We're still trying to get through this review so I can look at some other studies for everybody out there that's listening. Because I think it's an important topic. For example, right now, my phone is not on me. I have my recorder here, but I don't have my computer near me. I'm in my room. Cell phone is downstairs, computer is downstairs. So I've been taking some of this stuff, pretty seriously. Practice what I preach, I guess, if you will. Guys, thank you. This is it's been good. I'm looking forward to learning more, and we'll see you next time. This is The Thread.